know, Lord Chaitanya was born here in Mayapur, and he lived here in Mayapur for the first 24 years of his pastimes here in this world. So he took birth on the Gaur Purnima day, what we call the Gaur Purnima day. At that time it was a full moon. It was in the evening on the Purnima, and the moon was full, and there was an eclipse at that time also. So it's a very special occasion. Lord Chaitanya is appearing here. And Lord Chaitanya lived here for the first 24 years, and he performed many different pastimes here in Mayapur. Mayapur is in the center of Navadvip. Navadvip. Navadvip means 9 islands, right? Dvipa means island, and Nava 9. So the Navadvip, the area which is called Navadvip, is made up of 9 islands. And the place where Lord Chaitanya appeared is an island which is called Antardvip. And it's right in the center. It's said that the 9 islands are like petals of a lotus. At least eight of the islands are like petals of the lotus. And the place where Lord Chaitanya appeared, the Antardvip, is like the center of the lotus. So you have in the center of the lotus, you have the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then you have the 8 islands around that one island in the center. So Lord Chaitanya performed many pastimes in these different places. And so after Lord Chaitanya appeared, we know at the age of 24, he left Mayapur because he took sannyas, and then he went to Jagannath Puri for some time, and then he traveled around India, and then he traveled around India for 6 years, and then he came back to Puri, and he spent 18 years there in Puri, and then he disappeared from the world. So the devotees who were followers of Lord Chaitanya, who had become influenced by his teaching, they wanted to come and visit Mayapur and see the place of his birth, and they wanted to hear about his activities that he performed here. So that was how the parikrama began. And there are 2 books which describe the parikrama and tell about the different pastimes which took place in the different places and on the different islands. So one book describes how Lord Nityananda took Jiva Goswami and some other devotees, he took them around on parikrama to see all the different places. And the other book describes about one of the servants from Lord Chaitanya's home, someone called Ishan. Ishan was a servant in the home of Lord Chaitanya. So he also took people around. He took some devotees like Srinivasa Charya and others. He took them around to see the places of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. So later on, Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote books about it. One of the books which he wrote was called the Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, describing the glories of the Navadvip Dham and the 9 islands and the different pastimes which took place there. And he describes also how these devotees went to visit these places and how they felt so much ecstasy just being in these places and hearing about the pastimes performed there. So the parikrama began by initially Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was the pioneer of the Krishna consciousness movement, particularly in the Western world. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he appeared about, he was in this world about 150 years ago or more. And he wanted to develop the parikrama. So it was his son, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, that he actually began the parikrama in quite a big way. And he brought many, many thousands of people with him around the different islands of Navadvip to see the holy places and to hear about the pastimes which are performed there. So after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada left the world, then our own founder Acharya and spiritual master, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he encouraged the devotees that every year they should come to Mayapur. Every year they should come to Mayapur and celebrate Gaur Purnima. Of course, it was not compulsory, but those who could, he encouraged them that you come to Mayapur and spend time in Mayapur, particularly at the time of the Gaur Purnima, and you can observe the festival of the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. And so Prabhupada wanted that we would have one festival every year here in Mayapur at that time. So this is what happens, that every year, just before the Gaur Purnima, a festival is organized. And the festival includes things like the Kirtan Mela, and we have also something called Shravana Utsav, where different senior devotees will be asked to give lectures on different topics about Krishna consciousness. So that has already taken place. The Shravana Utsav went on for 3 or 4 days, and then the Kirtan Mela was another 4 days or 5 days. And then after Kirtan Mela, then devotees all started to would go out on parikrama. And in the beginning, when we first began the parikrama, we were not many people. We just had a few people, but gradually over the years, it's built up more and more, with more and more Indian people taking an interest in Krishna consciousness. They all started to come to Mayapur for the Gaur Purnima. And we've had as many as 10, 12,000 people going out on parikrama. So because the numbers were so great, we would divide in groups, and we would have Bengali speaking group, and we'd have Hindi speaking group, and we'd have Tamil speaking group, and we'd have Russian group, and we had an international group for people who were better in English. So like that, there were different groups to go around. And that way the numbers are you get about 1,000 or sometimes 2,000 in a group. And it's easier to manage rather than having 10, 12,000 people all together. So the devotees would split up into groups and they would go around the different places. And the idea is that they would spend about 8 or 9 days going around. What we try to spend, ideally you should be in one island for each day, and you hear about the pastimes which took place, right? We said there are 9 islands. So each island represents one of the processes of devotional service. So one island represents hearing. Another island represents chanting. Another island represents remembering. And then like that, we go through the different items of devotional service, and there's a different island for each process. And so we like to try to go to a different island each day and hear about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya there. And even before Lord Chaitanya, there were great personalities who would come there to Mayapur and to Navadvip. In every age, there would be a different incarnation of the Lord come there to Navadvip. In the Satya Yuga, the Lord appeared there as Varaha, And then in Treta Yuga, Lord Ramachandra came there along with Sita and Lakshman. And in Dwapara Yuga, Lord Krishna came there. And now in Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya is there, has come there. Actually, Lord Chaitanya resides there and resides here in Mayapur. Because Mayapur is a dham, it's called a dham. And that a dham means a place where the Lord resides eternally. He's always present. Sometimes he's manifest and sometimes he's not. So he was manifest 500 years ago. Now at this time he's not visible, but he's still here. But he's in his unmanifest form. So we try to spend these days, several days, going around and hearing about the different pastimes and the processes of devotional service and hearing about what happened in these different places. We hear about how Shankaracharya came here, and Ramanuja came here, Madhvacharya came here, Nambarka, all the great acharyas, they all came to Navadvip at different times. And when they heard about Lord Gauranga, about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's very enlivening. And devotees also take the opportunity to put on dramas. Maybe, and if you're watching online, you've seen some of the dramas being presented. Right? Are you watching online? Have you seen the dramas?
Sorry, I didn't see the drama, Guru Maharaj. There is one online virtual that I'm watching mostly on for the past 2-3 days, but somehow I didn't see the drama.
Oh, every day we have dramas.
Every day? Okay. They put a summary of 1 hour with a lecture from a devotee, and then the other half an hour, the short parikrama. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, really? They're not showing the dramas, huh?
Yeah, maybe it will take more time, or I don't know, Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
Well, you miss all these things when you don't come on the parikrama.
Yes.
That's the benefit of being out here on the when you go out on the parikrama, you can pick up on everything that's going on, but it's difficult for them to show it all on the television screen or on the internet.
Yes.
All right. So are there any questions anybody has about this parikrama? Any of you like to come on parikrama? Maybe in the future you can get the opportunity, you can come.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. We wanted to come really one time to the parikrama.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, we have devotees this year. Devotees came from South India. Many came from Trivandrum and Chennai, and not as many as usual, but still some managed to come. And so we have about 2,500 people this year on parikrama, and we're just one group this year because it's because of the COVID. We just kept everyone together and just have one group. And often we would stay out, camp out in the night. We have land on each of the islands, and we have some facilities there, and we will all stay out there in the night. We won't come back to Mayapur every night. But this year, because of the COVID, we're all coming back every evening to Mayapur. And this morning, devotees all went to Navadvip and to the town of Navadvip, and they did Harinam Sankirtan there in the town. And they went to see two or three places there in Navadvip, which are important. One place was the Bhajan Kutir Samadhi of Jagannath Das Babaji. Jagannath Das Babaji is in our line of disciplic succession. And then they also went to see a deity called Dhameshwara. Dhameshwara is a deity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it said the deity was worshipped by Vishnu Priya. After Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, then she was left alone, so she worshipped a deity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that deity is there in Navadvip, and with devotees went to see the deity and offer up respects and offered prayers to the deity. And then they came back to Mayapur. And tomorrow, we're going many places tomorrow. We have a lot of places to go to tomorrow because the parikrama is much shorter this year. We're only doing 5 days. So, but we have to go more places in one day. So we're not spending so much time talking in each place. We're moving quite fast. But usually the program is we go to a place and we'll stay, talk there and talk about what happened. And different devotees, senior devotees come, different, especially sannyasis, they would often come out and talk. All right?
Yeah, so we have to register 1 year before Guru Maharaj for this, or
No.
no? Okay. Okay, Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
Some people just come along on the day. They just come on the day and just come join in.
Okay. So on the Gaura Purnima day, this is also like Krishna Janmashtami. The celebration, how we should do, Guru Maharaj? Make many dishes.
Gaura Purnima day, usually the program will be they'll have the Abhishek. They'll do the Abhishek of the deity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know, many people like to bathe the deity on that day. So they have a number of deities installed where they will perform the Abhishek. So that's a pop. And then often His Holiness Jaipataka Swami Maharaj will do an initiation on that day. And he may give many people initiation. So they'll have a big yagya for the initiation. And then there'll be classes also, lectures will be given by different devotees. Usually that's in the morning. There'll be lectures all morning up to the midday. And then the Abhishekan in the afternoon. And then the yagya for the initiation is later also in the afternoon. And then in the evening we break fast.
Okay. Yeah, breaking the fast.
We take Ekadasi Prasadam that day.
Oh, okay. The fast is, we have to break the fast with Ekadasi Prasadam.
Yes, it's Ekadasi. We don't take grains on the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We just take Ekadasi Prasadam in the evening.
Okay.
Guru Maharaj, do we have to take Ekadashi Prasadam, or we can just continue without it?
Well, it depends what you're doing. If you know, the initiated devotees, they should just take Ekadasi Prasadam. But people who are not initiated, they're not obliged. They can suit themselves.
Okay. Oh, no. I am asking, can we continue with the fasting without Ekadashi Prasadam, or do we have to take Ekadashi Prasadam?
Well, generally we should break the fast.
Okay.
Yeah, we should break the fast in the evening.
Okay.
It's not a full day's fast. We just fast up until moonrise. So usually by 6:30 or 7 in the evening, we will take prasadam.
Okay. Okay, Guru Maharaj.
You don't have to take a lot. You can just take You know, if you're doing full fasting, you may not have taken water, so you can break the fast just by taking water. If you haven't drunk any water, then you could break your fast just by taking water.
Okay. Okay, Guru Maharaj.
And then the feast, there's a feast the next day, the day after Gaur Purnima. That should be the feast. Because the idea is that Lord Chaitanya's father, Jagannath Mishra, is very happy because his wife has delivered a son. So he wants to celebrate that his wife has got a son, and so he has a feast. So the festival the next day is called Jagannath Mishra's Mahotsava. He gives a feast in honor of the deliverance of his son. And so that will be a regular feast with grains and everything. That's the next day.
We can also try to do it like that, right, Guru Maharaj?
Oh, yes, if you like. Yeah. Yeah, of course. You see, here in India, that day when Lord Chaitanya appears, that's a holiday, because that is also the day of Holi. You know Holi? They throw colors on everyone.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Not mostly in North India. In South India, I have not seen so much.
Right, North India, they do it. They do it for, sometimes they do it for several days, throwing colors. So that particular day of the Purnima, that's a big day, and it's a holiday, everything closed. So, you know, a lot of people, but in the morning, everybody's throwing color on everybody. So you have to be careful. You don't want to go out. We keep the gates locked in the morning, because people get very wild throwing colors on each other, and the colors also take a long time to wash off.
Yes,
Okay.
Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
What is the origin of throwing colors?
Piranglo Prabhu, we couldn't hear you properly. Maybe you can write it in the chat box, or maybe some adjustments you have to make to the speaker.
Maybe now you hear better? Hola, hola, hola. You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, what is the origin of this holy festival, throwing colors? The origin of it has something to do with Krishna playing with the gopis, or throwing
Yes.
colors?
Yes, like that. Yeah, Krishna also had a pastime like this with the gopis.
Yeah.
Throwing colors.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, yes. Thank you.
Gurudev, I want to ask something. Now on Gaura Purnima, when we do Abhishek, do we Abhishek with only water, or do we put Chandan also?
Well, it's up to you. You can, if you want to put Chandan, you can. Or if you want to just use water, you can. Usually, often they like to use not only water, they will use also milk, yogurt, ghee, honey, like this. And then they started using also coconut water, different fruit juices, many different things. It becomes
So,
very colorful, all the things they bathe the deity in.
so we can do it at home also, like that?
Yes, if you want, you can do it at home. Yeah, why not?
Okay, thank you, Gurudev.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, shall I start sharing the screen?
Yes?
Okay. We are in verse 3.36. Ramya Mataji, do you want to read this?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mataji.
Arjuna Uvasha Atakena Prayukto Yam Papam Sharati Purusha Anisham Api Parsneya Balad Iva Niyojite. Translation. Arjuna said, O descendant of Vishnu, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? Perfect, a living entity, as part and parcel of the Supreme, is originally spiritually pure and free from all material contaminations. Therefore, by nature, he is not subject to the sins of the material world. But when he is contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine, so as to prevented nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the Supreme Soul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse. Hare Krishna.
All right, so one is how Arjuna is asking about sinful activities because Lord Krishna had explained in the previous verse that if we give up our duty, if we don't perform our own duty and we take up another's work, then this is not very good. This is like something sinful to try to do another's duty instead of performing what we're supposed to do. So Arjuna is asking that it may happen that in the beginning, although we may have good intentions, we want to do something right, want to do our own duty, but we may be attracted to do something else. So what happens? What causes this change in our activities, the change in our working? So Prabhupada explains in the purport, the cause is not the super soul. We like to say, oh, it's all due to Krishna. We say Krishna is the supreme controller. We say it must be due to Krishna. But it's pointed out here, the sinful activities are not due to the super soul. But there's another reason we're going to hear about in the next verse. It's very wrong for us to blame Krishna or to blame the super soul for everything. We ourselves have to take the responsibility if we do something which is not right. Everybody agree?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Yes.
Okay.
.37, Fernando Prabhu, can you please read?
Yeah, sure, Mataji.
Thank
Shri
you.
Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Kradha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahasano Mahapapma Vidi Anam Iha Varinam. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world.
When a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust, in association with the mode of passion. Or, in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust, as milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it returns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity. And it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. Modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. If, therefore, the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expanded himself into many for his ever-increasing spiritual bliss, and the living entities are parts and parcels of this spiritual bliss. They also have partial independence, but by misuse of their independence, when the service attitude is transformed into the propensity for sense enjoyment, they come under the sway of lust. This material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned soul to fulfill these lustful propensities. And when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about their real position. This inquiry is the beginning of the Vedanta Sutras, wherein is it said, Adhato Brahma Dinyasaha. One should inquire into the Supreme, and the Supreme is defined in Srimad Bhagavatam as Janmadi Yasya Yato Nivayat Itarathascha, or the origin of everything is the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, the origin of lust is also in the Supreme. If therefore lust is transformed into love for the Supreme, or transformed into Krishna consciousness, or in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized. Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Rama, exhibited his wrath by burning the golden city of Ravana. But by doing so he became the greatest devotee of the Lord. Here also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord induces Arjuna to engage his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies.
All right, so very important verse. Lord Krishna is answering Arjuna's question. What is the cause of our sinful activities? And Arjuna, Lord Krishna says immediately, it is due to lust, due to this, what we would call this burning desire to enjoy, to satisfy our senses. So Lord Krishna described it as lust born of contact of the mode of passion. So the lust has its origin in the mode of passion. So it's important for us to try to arrange our lives in such a way that we can get away from the mode of passion and we can be more situated in the mode of goodness. The mode of passion will mean a lot of activity, a lot of desires. We're never satisfied, we're never happy. So we want to try to get out of that mode of passion. Of course, it's very difficult because of our environment. We live in cities, which are the place of passion. And this earth planet is also a place of passion, but especially the cities. A lot of passion is there. You may say, no, Switzerland is quite nice, more peaceful, but even in Switzerland, the mode of passion will be there. And the mode of passion becomes worse when it degrades to the mode of ignorance. From passion, right, comes the lust, and from lust comes anger. As Krishna says in the verse, it is lust only, O Arjuna, born of contact of the mode of passion and later transformed into wrath. Wrath means anger. So this is very dangerous. When it becomes wrath or anger, then it becomes the mode of ignorance and very harmful to our consciousness and to our state of mind and existence. So as devotees, we want to be very careful to try to avoid the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance. How we can do that will be explained as we go on in the verse, but we have to come up to the mode of goodness. We have to try to get free from the passion and ignorance and come to the mode of goodness. Mode of goodness, being peaceful and being satisfied, being happy, having knowledge, proper understanding, these kind of things. So the lust is described as mahashano mahapapam, that it is all devouring and the most sinful. So you can see it's a very harmful thing, this lust. It's really very harmful, very degrading. It really ruins us, it can bring about destruction in our life. And it manifests itself more in the form of the wrath, the anger. So Prabhupada is explaining that this lust and anger can be used in the service of Krishna. Just like the gopis, they have some lust for Krishna, and Kubja, she also had some lust for Krishna. You know Kubja, the lady who was making sandalwood paste for Kamsa? So she was a hunchback woman, but she met Lord Krishna, and she was very attracted to Lord Krishna. And so her lust was to Krishna, the gopis' lust also to Krishna. And then Prabhupada gives examples about using anger in the service of Krishna. And he gives the example of Hanuman, who fought for Lord Ramachandra against the demon Ravan in the battle of Lanka. And Arjuna also fought. Arjuna fought at the battle of Kurukshetra under the instruction of Lord Krishna. So this is proper use of anger or wrath, using our wrath to defeat those who are opposed to Lord Krishna and Lord Krishna's mission. So that is proper use of anger. However, we should be cautious about using anger unless we are in control of our mind and senses. We should not try to use anger. One has to be a master of the mind and senses before you are able to use the anger in the service of Krishna. Now, Prabhupada could use anger. He could be angry 1 minute, but the next minute he would, he would let it go. He wouldn't keep the anger. We see sometimes people become angry and they're angry for days. They become so angry for days. You can't look at them for days. They're so angry. They hold the grudge, the anger within them. So that kind of anger is not good. We have to give up that anger. We have to release that. And we have to purify that anger. And the way to do it will be described by practicing Krishna consciousness and cultivating the mode of goodness. So, are there any questions on this? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, one question, Guru Maharaj. Very often we have anger at the material world. How can we transform it into service to Krishna? Because we are not like Hanuman. Our anger is not like Hanuman's anger, I think.
So you have to give up that anger. You have to understand that anger is degrading you. And the cause of that anger is lust. That initially, the lust was there, the desire to enjoy, to satisfy our senses. And we become angry because we didn't get what we wanted. Lord Krishna says, it is lust only, Arjuna, and later transformed into wrath. So the anger comes from the lust. So the lust has to be purified. Instead of the lust, the desire to enjoy and satisfy the senses, we have to purify our consciousness through Krishna consciousness. You have to take shelter of the holy name of Lord Krishna. And you have to call out to Krishna that please save me. Don't let me degrade myself by becoming angry. We want to avoid that. Later in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna will describe that there are 3 gates to hell: lust, anger, and greed. And every sane person will try to avoid these 3 things. So the anger and the greed, they come from lust. In the beginning, we have lust. If we don't get what we want, we become angry. And when we do get what we want more. We become greedy for more. So anger and greed both come from lust. We have to therefore purify that lust by developing love. Love for Krishna and love for all of Krishna's parts and parcels. Do you understand, Maharaji?
Yes, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
So next time you get angry, you have to grab your bead bag and start chanting loudly. Call out to Krishna, please help me to control my anger. Right?
Yes, okay.
We
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
We should regret that we've become angry. We're not really authorized to use anger in the service of Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, if somebody does some wrong things, maybe our family members or any of our friends did some sinful activities or something bad, then we get anger, right, Guru Maharaj?
Well, even in that situation, it's not very good to get angry. Rather, you have to, is that anger going to help to change anybody? You think you becoming angry is going to change the situation and people we'll be more careful in the future?
No, it makes it worse. Maybe
Yes,
sometimes.
yes, I think it's not doing any good becoming angry. Rather, what you have to do is try to point out the failures and the defect in what they're doing, and try to instruct them in something in the better path, how to properly live and how to properly act in this world. Just simply becoming angry, that's our own disgust. And you know, you're talking, maybe you have a child and the child is disobedient. So just getting angry and, you know, but if you actually sit and take time to instruct the child properly and explain to the child that this is not good, that you shouldn't do like this, and you know, it's not proper, then it's a much better approach rather than simply becoming angry. So I understand the situation. It's not easy, but the anger doesn't help. We say 2 wrongs don't make a right. Right? The person did something wrong and you become angry, that's also not right. So 2 wrong, but you're both wrong, it doesn't correct things. It just makes things worse. So we have to try to guard against these situations. We should be very cautious about anger. We don't want to use it unless we are the master of the mind and senses.
So in that case, we cannot get angry at all, right, Guru Maharaj?
Well, if you're the master of your mind and senses,
yeah, that is going to be really difficult now. Yeah.
otherwise, your anger is simply another manifestation. It's simply coming from the lust. Because you had material desires, because you wanted something, you expected something to happen and it didn't happen the way you wanted, you become angry. So you can express your disappointment. You can describe the failure and the wrong and what they're doing without becoming angry. Just simply describe your disgust and your lamentation that they've done such things in such a manner and appeal to them to correct themselves. But becoming angry doesn't help.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Lord Krishna described earlier in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 2nd chapter, we heard about how the living entity falls down. And it describes how, first of all, we contemplate the object of the senses, we become attached to something, and then from that attachment, lust develops, and then from lust comes anger. And then after anger, what is the result of anger? From anger comes delusion, then bewilderment of memory, and then intelligence is lost. And in this way, a person falls again into the pool of material life. Right? The anger takes away our intelligence. So it doesn't do us any good. So this is something we have to become aware of. Some people do have the tendency to become very angry sometimes. And when they get angry, then they say terrible things. And sometimes they even do terrible things. They may throw things and break things and become really emotional. It doesn't do any good at all. It just creates a more unpleasant atmosphere. Isn't it true?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, in my case, it's true. And yeah.
Yeah, we may
Yeah,
think,
they also ask, what is the use of the chanting you are doing? You're getting so angry. So we are creating some bad name for Krishna also.
yes, it's true. Yes. So the chanting is meant to, that's why I say, rather than get angry, better you just pick up your bead bag and then go out. Just go out of the house. Sometimes you just have to go out and go for a walk and go and chant. Spend some time in the park or something chanting to get over the anger. Because the anger is just, that's the all-devouring sinful enemy, right? It's coming from the lust. We say anger is like the younger brother of lust. First comes the big brother, the lust, and then the younger brother, the anger. And so it's different. Mahashano mahapap mam vidi nam mahavarinam. The all-devouring sinful enemy of man. So we have to conquer over this lust. Very important. This is for our purification. To become Krishna conscious, we have to get free of this. And we should greatly lament when you lose control and you become emotional and angry, then we should lament. We should apologize to the people we've become angry at. That I shouldn't have got so angry, and we should regret, because it takes away our Krishna consciousness. So it's an important point. All right, any other questions, comments? Okay, so will we chant Hare Krishna now?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Okay. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.